Clemson has a much upgraded schedule from last year. Marquee non-conference games, starting off with LSU. They've got what should be an improved ACC, but also a tougher ACC draw. Of course, that makes the path harder, but also more fun. And with that, I'm going to give you one reason to be optimistic about each game. Clemson certainly has the talent to go 12-0, and also one reason to worry for every game. It's hard to go 12-0, and most years Clemson will drop one. I'll probably predict Clemson to lose at least one game. And so let's dive into the schedule because it's not filled with gimmies, and I'll give you some discussion on each team. We'll start, of course, with LSU. The other Tigers with the other Death Valley, they come to Clemson, which is not Death Valley Junior. They'll come to Clemson, and I think there's some reasons, of course, to be optimistic, and of course, reasons to worry. On the one hand, tons of talent in LSU. They've won with multiple different coaches over the last 20 years. They've got a top 2 probably quarterback, certainly top 3 quarterback with Garrett Nussmeier. They had the number 1 rated transfer class in the entire country. And Clemson's performed really, really poorly against the SEC lately. Last year, they went 0-3, losing to Georgia, then South Carolina, then Texas. And LSU, they might not be Georgia or Texas quite, but they're not too far off. And I think most people would have them above South Carolina in the SEC pecking order. So it's certainly not going to be easy. Tom Allen comes in to fix the Clemson defense, but will he have it fixed right away? Now, for being optimistic, you got to look. LSU hasn't won a season opener since 2019 when Joe Burrow was there. They've lost to Southern Cal. They've lost to Florida State. They've even lost to UCLA. So they've dropped quite a few. 2020 was Mississippi State. They lost to it in the opener. So they've struggled in these openers. They'll be on the road. And the pressure's really on them to win a big opener. So I think they'll be the underdogs for a reason. I don't think they're more talented. They have a lot of talent to replace. And while I said they have the number 1 transfer class, they've got to get them all in, get them all to gel in time for an opener on the road. It's going to be tough. They lost a ton of NFL talent off that offensive line. They're going to have Peter Woods. They're going to have T.J. Parker, Will Helt attacking that line, and they've got to be ready right off the bat. And that's a tough task. Next up is Troy. And I'm going to be honest, Troy went 4-8 last year. I don't think Clemson fans have too much to worry about, but I will say in 2016, they kept it within 6 points, so respect to them there. But this is one that Clemson fans really shouldn't worry about too much, but hey, I'll give them credit for 2016. Georgia Tech could be a different story. Georgia Tech should be tough. I think this will be the best team they've had since the Paul Johnson days, and definitely the best offense since then. This offense should be loaded with Haynes King at quarterback, a 6th-year player. He was at Texas A&M for 3 years, now at Georgia Tech for 3 years. He was very good last year, playing hurt, and now he should be healthy. They've got Haynes King at quarterback, Jamal Haynes at running back, so they've got a big playmaker there. I think this offense is going to be really good, and Clemson traditionally has struggled in Atlanta. Now, a lot of these games are very, very old, but nonetheless, Clemson is 17-44-2 against Georgia Tech in Atlanta all time. So this is traditionally a place where Clemson has struggled. I think this is going to be one of the better Georgia Tech teams in a while. Flip side, Clemson's won 9 in a row in the series. They really should put up a lot of points on a Georgia Tech defense that has to replace defensive coordinator Tyler Santucci, who went to the Ravens. I also think it's worth noting Georgia Tech did not have a good pass rush last year. They averaged 1.38 sacks per game, not good. Clemson had their struggles at defensive end, and they went out and got arguably the best edge player in the country in the portal, Will Helt. Georgia Tech tried to do the same. They didn't get anybody inside the top 240 of the Rivals transfer portal rankings. They got a guy from Mercer, got a guy from UTSA, and they got A.J. Hoffler from Clemson. So I think Clemson should win in the trenches and put up enough points to win. And I don't know if I believe in Georgia Tech's defense. But that offense is scary, and Atlanta's scary. So there's some thoughts on that game. Next up is Syracuse, and I got to give them a lot of respect for their great season last year. But they lose quarterback Kyle McCord, who they leaned on super heavily, led the country in pass attempts, and he's gone, as well as his top 3 pass catchers, Rhonda Gadsden, the tight end they relied on a lot. Trevor Pena transferred to Penn State, where supposedly he got more money because he was asked for a bunch of money, went to a better team with more money. Hard to blame him, but that leaves this offense a little bit barren for Syracuse. And I love Fran Brown. I think he is a really good coach who, even though I think Syracuse will have a down year this year. I kind of believe in Fran Brown longer term. And they're dangerous, right? They knocked Miami out of the ACC championship, which, of course, Clemson fans appreciate. They also, even before Fran Brown, kind of are, I hate to say trouble because Clemson typically wins this game, but they make it tough. And so you can't sleep on Syracuse. Next up is UNC. And I think, last time Clemson went up to Chapel Hill, it was dicey. But I think they had Sam Howell that year. They more recently came to Clemson and at least stuck around for a while with Drake May. Well, they don't have Sam Howell or Drake May. So I just don't know that they can keep up with Clemson's offense. They do have a Super Bowl winning head coach in Bill Belichick. So will he have tricks up his sleeve? Will the fan base and the crowd be energized? They have an easier schedule, so maybe their record is maybe looking a little bit better and they have some momentum. So I don't think it's necessarily a gimme, but I think Clemson has a vastly, vastly superior roster. Next up is what I would say one of the more underrated road trips if you haven't done it yet. Boston College up in Chestnut Hill near Boston. Fun place to go visit if you haven't been. Boston could be expensive, but the Cape and Katy up and Maine, a lot to do up there. So those are some positives. I went up there a while ago. I think it was the 2016 season because Deshaun Watson was on Clemson, and the announcer memorably kept calling him Deshaun Wilson. So maybe not a football school per se. Maybe it's a hockey school, and maybe the crowd won't be super engaged. But I think Bill O'Brien is a very legit head coach. He grabbed a former four-star transfer from Alabama and Dylan Lonergan. Maybe there's something there. I don't know. I'm not super high on Boston College this year, but I think Bill O'Brien's a great coach, and trips to Boston have not always been easy. So that'll be an interesting one for sure. Next up is a team that was maybe one of the surprise teams of the year last year. SMU came in and immediately had a perfect regular season conference record, which was kind of embarrassing for the conference that they can come in from the group of five and just run the ACC. Clemson, of course, did knock them off in the ACC championship, and they saved face for the conference there. But I think, Kevin Jennings is back. He's a legitimate Heisman contender at quarterback. Rhett Lashley is a fantastic coach, particularly as an offensive mind. It's not going to be easy, but SMU loses almost everyone off that defense. I don't know that they could reload. I know that they're putting a lot of money into their program, but I don't know that SMU is the brand that can just immediately reload like an Ohio State could lose everyone. You're still going to rank them in your top five. I don't know for sure that SMU is there yet. They lose a lot on defense. Also, last year they had like a little bit of a magic of, wow, like they're in the ACC for the first time and they keep winning and they blew out Florida State and they've had something special. Now they have to recapture that or at least avoid the kind of we've arrived attitude. There's a lot more expectations, a lot less magic. We'll see how that goes. Next up is a basketball school who Clemson beat in basketball, but Duke beat them in football last time. So certainly no one's sleeping on this one. Duke they've got some things going. They snagged Clemson's top defensive end recruit in this last class, Bryce Davis. They landed maybe the most exciting transfer portal QB from the transfer portal class, Darian Mensah from Tulane. They've got a lot going. They won 9 games last year. Flip side of that is they ate up a lot of wins against mediocre competition, beating teams like Northwestern and Elon, UConn, Middle Tennessee State, barely beating Duke, not beating Florida State by much, losing to SMU, losing to Georgia Tech, losing to Miami. So like a lot, and losing to Ole Miss in the bowl game. So they lost to kind of all the good teams they played, and they just took care of business in the other. I would imagine Clemson counts as a good team. So I don't know. They play very steady. They're well coached, but can they elevate and beat Clemson like they did last time under a different coach? That's what I don't know about. But they're certainly dangerous, as they proved last time Clemson played them. And then we have the Florida State Seminoles, a team that was a 2-win team last year. They can't be that bad, but do you go from undefeated to 2 wins to back to being a playoff contender? I think not. I think this is a team that is solid. I like their moves to solidify the offense, bringing in Thomas Castellanos from Florida State. He's going to be fun. He's going to run the ball. New offensive coordinator Gus Malzahn is going to let him do that. Is he going to stay healthy? Is that really going to work against top competition? I mean, maybe like he carved up that good Florida State team that was undefeated, and Boston College probably should have beat them. So like he's capable. But it's in Clemson. Clemson's the better team, the better roster, the better quarterback. I think the better offensive coordinator with a more high upside offense. I think Clemson's the better team. But Florida State should be dangerous this year, unlike last year. Then you have Louisville, and this is one that I think is going to be really tough for Clemson. On the road, on a Friday, against big game coach Jeff Brom. I just have so much respect for Jeff Brom. Obviously, I don't even know how they came into Clemson and just kind of seemingly easily beat Clemson last year. It was weird. Clemson almost like sleptwalked through that game, it felt like. I think Jeff Brom's a great coach, and he's going to turn Miller Moss into a good quarterback because he's just so good at picking out that kind of pocket passer quarterback and making them great. It's kind of his calling card. So I have a lot of optimism for Louisville fans. If you're a Clemson fan, though, they lost a lot of guys. And I know they had a big transfer portal class. They brought in a great defensive end from Coastal Carolina, but still they only had 8 starters return. And relying on the portal, it can be great. Look at Florida State the year before last, or it can be terrible. Look at Florida State last year. So it's just very much like kind of a new team gelling together through the portal. Some of their additions are great, but not all of them are going to work out. And so how much depth do they really have? I don't know. Clemson will also not be overlooking them on the road on a Friday after losing to them last year. So they'll certainly get Clemson's best shot. And maybe they didn't last year. Then before the Thanksgiving week rivalry game, you have Furman coming to Clemson. All I really have to say about Furman is they've got a really cool mascot, the Purple Paladins. They've beat Clemson 10 times in their history, but they were 3-8 last year, and that's bad for even an FCS team. So I don't know how good Furman is, but neat mascot, cool school, nothing bad to say really. Finally, a school that I do have bad stuff to say, and that is the rival South Carolina Gamecocks. I think their defense might be bad. They lost so many guys in the NFL draft. I just don't know. Again, they do a good job with talent, but they're not Ohio State or Georgia. They just lost so much of that defense. Can they replace it all? They do have some kind of star players, some star power with Lenora Sellers, a really good quarterback who's fun to watch when you're not playing him. They've got Nick Harbor, who gave up track and it seems poised for a breakout year. Wide receiver, they got defensive end Dylan Stewart. So that's a great trio. And they've won 2 out of 3, and now it's back in Columbia. But Clemson has a lot more star power. Cade Klubnik, Bryant Wesco, Antonio Williams, TJ Moore, TJ Parker, Peter Woods. And now Clemson's got a new defensive coordinator. So I think Clemson might be a better coach now. They have more talent now. And while it is in Columbia, Clemson's won 5 in a row in Columbia. And then on top of that, I think South Carolina will get off to a good start, 5-0, something like that. They'll be ranked maybe even top 10 as they should be. But then before they play Clemson, they got to go through a stretch that includes LSU, Oklahoma, Alabama, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M. It's all in a row. Then they get a bye and play Coastal before Clemson, but they might be just dead man walking after that insane stretch. I do not envy that SEC schedule. That is brutal. And maybe they're just completely worn down before they even get to Clemson. Let's hope so. Let me know your thoughts. Which team on this schedule gives you worry, and which ones do I seem more worried than you are? We'd love to hear it in the comments. And as always, go Tigers. Thank you to our sponsor, Ready Vets. If you live in the upstate and have a dog or cat that needs immediate care, Ready Vets is the place to go. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe.